Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Joanne Davey. We welcome the veterans who have served, those who are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please sit if you wish to do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private John William Blankenberg. John William Blankenberg was born around 1891 in Riga, modern-day Latvia, which was then part of Russia. Blankenberg was one of 4 sons born Nathalia Blankenberg, though his father's name is not known. Blankenberg worked as a naval seaman and spent at least 2 years working for the Prince Steam Shipping Company, a worldwide shipping company firm. By 1916, he was living in West Brunswick in Melbourne, and while there, told his friends of his hard life in Russia and how one of his brothers was shot, another drowned, and that his mother and other brother likely died when his village was burnt down. The exact details of when these events occurred are not known. Blankenberg enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 18th of January 1916 and began training with the reinforcements for the 24th Infantry Battalion. In March, he sailed for his unit for England, and after a further period of training, sailed for Europe and the war on the Western Front. He joined his unit in the field for the first time in September 1916, when they were fighting in Belgium. In late November, while the 24th Battalion was on roadwork duties at Frycourt near the River Somme, Blankenberg was taken to hospital with an ankle injury. During his treatment, he was found to also have an abscess in his jaw. He was taken to hospital in England for treatment and recovery and did not rejoin his unit until October 1917, when they were training and resting behind the lines at Steveford for the French-Belgian border. In March 1918, Blankenberg was again hospitalised, this time with injuries sustained during a heavy German gas attack on a series of Australian billets known as the Catacombs. In May, Blankenberg took part in an attack on the German trenches at Ville-sur-Creux, north of the River Somme. The attack was a success for the 24th Battalion, and Blankenberg distinguished himself in the fight. A later report stated that, during the attack, he was always found in the forefront of the fighting with his platoon officer. When the attacking party was temporarily held up and casualties inflicted by an enemy machine gun, he threw a bomb into the post and then helped 2 of our wounded out of danger. When his party advanced again, he helped his officer to rush another post, put the crew out of action and captured a gun. He helped another casualty to the rear and immediately reported to his officer again. When daylight came and mopping up began, he assisted his officer and another man to mop up another gun crew, thus capturing a second gun. During the whole attack, he showed a total disregard of all danger and materially assisted in the success of the operation. He was awarded the Military Medal for his action on this day. In 1918, Blankenberg and the 24th Battalion served in a supporting role in the Battle of Hamel and Amiens and played a key role in the successful Battle of Mons-Saint-Quentin. On the 5th day of October 1918, just over 1 month before the armistice that ended the Great War, Blankenberg and the 24th Battalion participated in heavy fighting at Montbrun, a small town that had 2 days previously been captured by British troops, but had since fallen back into German hands. The attack was a success, but came at a heavy cost of 430 Australian casualties. Blankenberg was one of those killed. He was 26 years old and killed in what was the last action involving Australian infantry on the Western Front. He is buried in the Calvaire Cemetery in France, where over 70 casualties of the First World War now lie. Private John William Blankenberg's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private John William Blankenberg, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.